Welcome back. Today is such a beautiful day, and we're going to talk about all things chronic pain. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people who are always in constant pain. Usually, after the age of 40 to 50, there's just more pain than people desire in their own bodies. And we have tried the hospitals, we have tried everywhere. I personally have like a back problem. That's how I know that these things are serious, and you've tried all the doctors, but you just seem to get a relief and then you bounce back. And today, hopefully, we're going to get to the root cause of chronic pain and what can be done to get rid of chronic pain for good. My guest today doesn't believe that just because you're aging, the chronic pain has to come with it. He believes that you can age and age gracefully without unnecessary, complicated body pains. Bradley Shefford is someone that has worked with functional medicine. He's someone that was in chiropractic for 15 years plus. So he understands the medical side of things. But what he does now is really educates human beings that most of the pain that they experience as chronic pain is nothing but hormonal imbalance. And all of that can be sorted if we understand how to use food as medicine. There's a lesson I learned from my smallest brother, and he said, Prim, it's very simple. You can use food as medicine and you can use food as poison. You just have to decide. And I'm like, okay, this is good. So today I'm going to have Brandley on here discuss how he does what he does. And finally, hope when you get off this, you can understand how to end your chronic pain for good without being a prisoner of medicines and all of these practices that don't seem to end. So goodbye, relief, and welcome long-lasting results. Brad, welcome to the show. I am so honored to have you.
Thank you, Prima. It's a pleasure to be here.
What is it that I said that is wrong? Because sometimes when I talk about medical things, I say wrong things. What is it that I said that is incorrect?
Well, I don't want to discount the importance of actual medicine because it can bring relief. But like you said, it is oftentimes just a temporary relief. We take our medications and we're not really doing anything to address the underlying cause of the problems. We're just looking for that quick fix, if you will, rather than understanding the underlying cause and trying to get to the underlying cause and address that. Now, we said that hormone imbalances is the only thing that causes pain, but that's not true. There's a lot of things that can cause pain, but hormone imbalances is the one thing that I like to focus on because it can significantly contribute to, it can cause, it can amplify, or it can perpetuate that chronic pain. And so hormones is an important thing to look at along with a whole bunch of other things. We want to look at the person as a whole. A person isn't just a head and a brain and a body and hormones and a spine. We're whole people and we have emotions that can contribute as well. So there's a whole big picture of things that can cause chronic pain. But I like to kind of narrow in on that nutrition part and the hormone balancing part.
What is it that the person who is viewing right now should think about? This is what I'm going to take away. What is it that they're going to understand after listening to us?
Well, hopefully by the end of today, they're going to have a couple of strategies that they can actually start today to hopefully start to decrease their chronic pain. Hopefully they'll understand some of the causes of the pain and some of the longer term solutions.
Does your methodology help with all chronic pain, or it only helps with certain chronic pain?
Well, I wish I could say that it helps with all pain, but everyone is different. And so sometimes we just can't predict. However, one of the things that we do see is at least a reduction in the pain. We can't promise that we're going to eliminate all pain forever. That's just unfortunately not reality. But if we can reduce pain reduce the significant flare-ups, reduce the frequency and severity of those flare-ups. I feel like that we've taken a good step forward.
You've been in functional medicine and you've been in chiropractic and you've been in that side of the world. Why are you now moving away to hormone balance food? And what is missing that side that you're looking for this way? Or like what's your plan? Like you keep moving away from things to other things and we're confused. Like what's wrong with where you were solving problems and why are you coming to food, to hormone? Like what have you discovered that you didn't have before once you were the other side 15 years? What was missing?
That's a great question. As a chiropractor, we dealt with a lot of the musculoskeletal complaints. And so, people will come in with shoulder problems, neck problems, back problems, and we could address most of those. But there were always some of those patients that just wouldn't respond to the therapies like I thought that they should. And once I discovered functional medicine, I began to understand that, okay, low back pain could be that musculoskeletal component, but there's also or estrogen imbalances or B12 imbalances that can cause that back pain. And so before I wasn't addressing that. Once I discovered the functional medicine, that light bulb went on and says, oh, there's more to it than this, than what I'm doing. There's more to understand here. And so I delved into it. And so I found out that low testosterone, low estrogen, low vitamin B12, low vitamin B6 can cause all of these things that I was seeing as a chiropractor. The thyroid imbalances can cause frozen shoulder, which is a condition that I saw every once in a while. So my normal chiropractic methods of manipulating the joints weren't solving these problems that were caused by other things. So I had to expand my repertoire, if you will. And so that got me really, really excited about, okay, well, not only now I've had these new tools that I'm not limited to the spine and the musculoskeletal system. Now I can look at hormones. I can look at, inflammation that might be being caused by hormones. And so all of these things have kind of opened up my world. And so I'm able to help more people. And especially with the technology, and we can get online and we can have these video calls all over the world. Now I can actually reach out and help a lot more people than what are just here in my little small town of Las Cruces.
I know you've helped quite a good number of people. Are we talking in tens, dozens, hundreds? Like, how many people have you helped with your process in the last 2 years?
Well, in the last 2 years, we've helped hundreds. But in the last, 15 years, before I even discovered functional medicine, I've been helping thousands of people. But with these new tools, I'm actually able to reach more. So to me, it's a lot more exciting. To be honest with you, I got, when you see the same type of conditions all day, every day, it gets a little bit repetitious. And it's not a bad thing because I'm really good at what I do, but now I can just do more. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's so beautiful how many messages I get to go through every day. And every day I'm like, oh my God, this is like I'm always developing small things based on how many messages go through my portal. Like message after message after message. I'm like, oh my God, after hundreds of messages, I get it. Like I really get the concept. Let's go to your story. Like, how did you get into all this?
That story started 20 years ago. I actually wanted to be a math teacher, and so I was in the education system, and I realized, the education system, the way it's set up here in the United States, is just it's not great. It's better than nothing, but I couldn't teach in a way that I wanted to teach, and I wanted to help people, and so I discovered. I've always kind of been intrigued with being a doctor, but I never really liked the idea of matching up a symptom with a medication. So that didn't really jive with me either. once I discovered chiropractic, they said, okay, with chiropractors, we try to find the underlying cause of problems, be a doctor, be a healer, not a doctor. And that kind of resonated with me. So I got into chiropractic school. We talked about the spine and the nervous system, and they kind of indicated that, all of the problems come from the spine and the nervous system because the nervous system controls everything. That was kind of the school of thought, which made a little bit of sense, but I always thought that there was a little bit more. Fast forward 15 years now, I'm doing the chiropractor. We're helping a lot of people solve a lot of their problems, but there's still something missing. And that's when I discovered the functional medicine, which is really getting to the underlying cause of the problem. We're looking at people that are more than just a spine and a nervous system. We're looking at hormones. We're looking at blood imbalances. We're looking at nutrition. We're looking at toxins that come from our environment. We talk about the food, processed food, which could be poison. So there's just a whole lot more than what I was looking at. And so my picture went from a very narrow view to this bigger view of the person as a whole. And we look at the emotions, we look at the toxins, we look at their environment, we look at what they do all day, every day, we look at their exercise. And so that's all under the umbrella of functional medicine, which made a lot of sense. But I really enjoyed the hormone imbalance part. And so that's kind of what I fixated on. And that's what I decided to specialize in because that was just the most interesting to me.
What is it that we don't understand about chronic pain? Every time when we get a pain and we go to the hospital and there's a pain, a headache, I don't know. I have like a tube I use. It's called heat something. I put it on my back. The pain goes away and I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, what is it that we don't understand about chronic pain every time we reach out for a painkiller? Every time we reach out to the doctor, every time we reach out to whatever the rub is, what is it that we don't understand in all of that? Because I feel like what I do with my back is a lifetime thing, but I desire to have a stop to the back because I believe I'm young enough to have like a healthy back, if it makes sense. So what is it that I am missing? What is it that everyone is missing who is a slave to their pain, if I can say that?
That's a really good question. And like I said, everyone is a little bit different, but generally speaking, there's a lot of pain that comes from lifestyle choices. What are we eating? What are we putting in our bodies? What are we doing with our bodies? Are we getting enough rest? Are we getting enough exercise, proper exercise, good rest? Are we eating a lot of sugar or high inflammatory foods that are working against us? Or are we choosing to put in good food that is, if we can, fresh from the garden, whole foods, not processed foods? And I've always said, the food that we get, the closest we can get our food to its natural state, the better it's going to be for us. So, like I said, there's a lot of things to think about. And the food that we eat, believe it or not, can determine how well our hormones are functioning. If we're not getting the right nutrients to make the hormones and to activate the hormones, then we're going to start developing these chronic conditions. If we're not taking care of our gut health, by eating the right foods that help support our gut rather than destroy our gut, that also leads to widespread inflammation. And whenever we have a large amount of inflammation in our bodies, we're going to have those muscle aches, we're going to have those joint pains, we're going to start developing arthritis. All of this is from inflammation. And then if we add on to that and compound these hormone imbalances, especially like with conditions like diabetes, that is very highly inflammatory. And it's inflammatory enough that it starts destroying the nerves. And so we start developing neuropathies or that burning or numbness and tingling in our hands and our feet. And then we're put on, I'm going on a tangent here. Then we're put on diabetes medication, which depletes our body of vitamin B6 and vitamin B12, which can further make that neuropathy worse because there are studies that show that supplementation with B6 and B12 can actually decrease the effects of neuropathy, including diabetic neuropathy, including carpal tunnel, and all sorts of different things. So there's a lot to think about.
Hello, but what I would love for you to explain to me is I want you to take me back to food. I want you to walk me through the practicality of food, because what I've discovered is that some food is seen as good, but it's actually bad in some ways, or I don't know, like we sometimes don't understand what good food is. What I would also like to understand is how inflammation builds and how we can make sure we are not building it. And what is it that we need to know about food? Because when I read through your work, what I really understand is that if you master your food, you can master the hormonal balance. Once you master the hormonal balance, your pain can reduce or go away. I want you to walk me through like a process of how to think through. I have this pain and I do not know if I am figuring out the food well. I believe there is some food, some inflammation problems, but I don't know, like, what is the step-by-step way of looking at this if I'm looking to either reverse, reduce, or eradicate my pain?
Mhm. So the process that I use, first of all, we have to do some blood work, and we have to identify where those hormone imbalances are, where what our inflammation is at. And so, you know, one person is going to be very, very different from another person. So the first thing we have to do is actually test. And so that's the first step in what I do in my process is we test. We do a blood test and we look at all of the we look at 7 different hormones that can cause pain. And so once we've identified those imbalances, now we can come up with a treatment plan. Okay, well, you're deficient in vitamin B12, for example. Okay, well, so one of the best sources of the vitamin B12 is liver. So let's put some liver in your diet. When we look at the thyroid, okay, well, in order to make and to use thyroid hormone, you need things like zinc, you need some essential fatty acids, you need tyrosine, you need iodine. So let's put some kelp in your diet, or alfalfa, and let's add some of the things in these diets that can give you some of these nutrients to help make everything work better. Once we put you on a program for 60 or 90 days, I like to do a 90-day program. Then let's check and retest to make sure that we're seeing the changes that we expect to see. It's really important to monitor that and recheck, because sometimes the symptoms don't go away, as soon as we'd like them to. The symptoms never go away as soon as we'd like them to, right? But without the testing, we don't know if what we're doing is working all of the time, because sometimes we need to get to a certain level or decrease, hormones to a certain level or increase hormones to a certain level before you start feeling the benefits. And so a lot of times we'll see the blood work, doc, I feel the same. But we look at the blood work and say, okay, we're almost there. We need to just continue on the course because we're seeing improvements. Let's continue the course. That's when we start to feel better. So, excuse me, it's really important to monitor those hormones over the time and make sure that what we're doing is actually working.
So,
because it can get frustrating if you're not seeing any changes.
So let me ask a question. When you say check the hormones, like what exactly am I going to the hospital for? Like what am I asking the doctors to test for? What's the request? What do I want when I go to the hospital? Because every time someone goes to the hospital, they decide what is wrong with the person. But if I was to say, I want this test, what would I be looking for?
Yeah. So unfortunately, the hospital isn't going to address any of this stuff. But if you want to know, the things that I test for are the thyroid hormones. I do a good thyroid check. I do, and sometimes doctors miss this because they don't do enough thyroid testing. I check the adrenal glands by checking the cortisol and DHEA. I check the gonads, so I'm looking at testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. I check for insulin. So I'm looking at the pancreas. So I'm looking for insulin, fasting blood glucose, and hemoglobin A1C. We're looking at inflammatory markers. We're looking at the liver enzymes, ALT, AST. We're looking at, I think I've mentioned all of the main ones, and I always check magnesium as well. You want to do a good, you want to do an anion gap test to check for the B1. And we do a regular, a complete blood count, and we look at that. So we're looking for any sorts of possible anemias or B vitamin deficiency, iron deficiencies. We check iron and ferritin, total iron binding capacity. So this is a really big test that we do. We test a lot more than what your doctor would normally test for, because they just kind of test the minimum. In my experience, they test just kind of the basics, and that's about it. With my tests, we dive in a little bit deeper.
When you say your tests, that's on location, right? Like that's on site, right?
Yeah. That's so you go in and you get your blood drawn, and we measure a whole bunch of different markers in your blood.
So if I am geographically off, like I'm in Africa and I'm trying to take your advice to go get tested, I would try and get all these tested, and then I would bring you a report, right? So what's then the second step? After I've got the blood reports and you're looking at them and you're like, this is high, this is low, this is high, whatever. What is then the next step?
Well, then we have you make a food diary. Write down all of the food that you've eaten for a week. And if we need to make modifications for that, then we make modifications for that. Okay. Sometimes food isn't available in your area, so we have to supplement with vitamins or, nutritional supplements. Sometimes we use herbs to help balance those hormones as well. Herbs are a good way to balance hormones as well. So, for example, a chase tree can help balance your estrogen and progesterone cycles, and then there's a whole bunch of other herbs that we can use that can be really beneficial. So it's get to the blood, understand exactly where the deficiency is, and see what can be added to your diet to make taken away.
Or taken away. I'm just thinking about me because I think I just don't eat enough. Like I think if you looked into how I eat, you'd be like, there's all these things you have to start eating, and I'd be like, huh? Like, why? So
now,
let me understand.
I wanted to give you a quick rule of thumb, like just a quick tip that you can use today with your food. The more different colors that's in your diet, the better. So if you can get peppers that are green, orange, red, carrots that are orange, sweet potatoes that are orange, radishes that are white and red, Spanish black radish, which is white, the broccoli, which is green, leafy vegetables, which are all shades of green. You get what I'm saying?
The more color, the better.
The more color, the better.
It doesn't matter if you're like a vegetarian like me. Like, it doesn't matter if they're all just vegetables. Just get more color in.
More color, yeah. And unfortunately, humans, we're not made to be vegetarians. We're not made to be vegans. We're not made to be carnivores either. And so we need that variety as well. So, like
a little bit of
Yeah. Even the beef liver, beef liver is great for the B vitamins, and it's hard to find B vitamins in plant sources. So we need to eat a variety of animals as well. Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in.
So let me see if I can get the question right, which I'm trying to. What are some of the chronic conditions that have always pointed to food, but people are busy looking in other places? Because what I'm understanding is often when you go to the doctor, they don't test everything, which means they miss out everything or most of the things, which means you're now on treatment for one thing once your problems are maybe 5. which means you're gonna get better, and then the next thing will come up, and then you go back, and then it's like every time you go to test, instead of them taking 10 tests, they're taking one, they're taking like full blood, and then whatever shows up, they're not digging deeper. They're like, yeah, let's just make this thing disappear. As opposed to if they took all of the tests and said, okay, we're going to fix everything. Is that kind of how it is?
Yeah, that is. It's funny because a lot of, if you really look at the nutrition and the diets, a lot of these chronic conditions come from poor diets. And so you're going to start getting different multiple conditions. I mean, I've had patients that have multiple autoimmune diseases. And when we were treating the person, both of those autoimmune diseases got better. We didn't cure them, of course, but they got better, both of them. And so when you're looking at, again, when you're looking at the person as a whole, and you're looking at their lifestyle, and you're looking at their choices that they're making, a lot of the chronic diseases like diabetes and cancers, they have that lifestyle dietary component.
It's
And
one bad
so,
thing every day over a few years, and boom.
yeah, and it just builds up and builds up and builds up because we're not doing the right things that are healthy for us. And so, of course, we're going to be sick.
Explain to
And
me
not
how
just with one
this,
thing.
help me understand this in terms of menopause and
Mhm.
the hormones, and what you're saying is an opposition of nature, because we believe that when we get 40 or whatever, that the hormones just take their course or whatever, and some things happen because of the age flip. But what you've been saying makes me think that maybe there is something there to be challenged. Could you educate me in terms of menopause and how that plays out in your world?
Yeah, so there is certainly um, those genetic factors and those age related factors that we can't control. That is absolutely true. It kind of goes back to the whole nature versus nurture question, doesn't it? Well, I've learned that it's not just one and just the other. It's both. So we have to take both into consideration. So can we change what our bodies do when that's going through menopause? No, we can't. Your body's going to go through menopause. Can we make choices that help kind of mitigate and help decrease some of those symptoms, those night sweats? Can we decrease the frequency and severity of that by how we're eating? Well, yeah, we can. And then I'd be, I've also got to make sure that we're mentioning proper exercise and proper sleep, because all of that comes into play as well. And so I don't want to diminish the importance of those things, those lifestyle things as well, because we understand that a sedentary lifestyle can cause all sorts of problems. And it's possibly a sedentary lifestyle is probably one of the greatest risks for heart problems than anything else. And so, proper sleep, proper exercise, proper diet can help mitigate some of those huge hormonal swings. And we may not be able to stop them completely, but we can do things that can help reduce the dramatic effects. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Help me understand that in regards to, first thing was in regards to menopause. The second thing is in regards to, and I think the point has just jumped out of my head. Give me context in terms of a holistic view, because a lot of us don't really see health problems as holistic. We see them as I have a headache and I'm going to see a doctor. But some of it just goes beyond that. Like you're saying, there's exercise and there's sleep and there's all sorts of things. Do you have like a holistic element to your work? Do you believe that this stuff is holistic?
I think it is. Yeah. because again, we're looking at the person. We're not looking at, I'm not looking at the symptoms are important because they tell us that there's something wrong, but it
Mm.
doesn't tell us what's wrong. And
Mm.
so that's when my work starts. Okay, you have a headache.
Mm.
Why do you have a headache? And believe it or not, there's lots of different types of headaches. There's lots of different reasons for a headache. A headache could be tension, could be stress, it could be
Mm.
um, dehydration. Maybe we're just not drinking enough water. Maybe it can be thyroid related. Okay? It
Mm.
could be if you're having headaches that occur about once a month, that could be hormonal related.
Mm.
There could be pituitary type headaches. There could be headaches that are caused from a bad gallbladder.
Mm.
So these are
Wow.
some that just kind of come through my mind when I hear headache.
Mm. I was going to ask you a question about my mom. My mom is the person who used to eat the healthiest I know, and she still does, but she's been on meds for 27 years, and now she really has like chronic problems.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering what would be your best advice for her? Because it was never until she had a mental problem that she got diabetes. It was never until she had diabetes that now she had high blood pressure. It was never like things keep piling up. I am convinced it's from the medicine she's taking, but her food has always been clean. Like even before she was ill, she always ate clean.
Mhm.
What would you say to that? Because I feel like it's the medicines that are causing the issue.
And that was my first thought. Okay, what medications is she on? What are the side effects of those medications? And what are the medication interactions? So if she's
Mm.
on, one medication, that can cause a certain problem. Once she's on two or three different medications, that compounds because the
Mm.
medications can interfere with other medications. And so and I see this a lot. Well, I'm taking this medication for this, and I'm getting this. Okay, well, let's put
Mm.
you on a medication for that, and then that
Mm.
medication causes other side effects. And we see this. I've seen people that are on 10, 13 different medications.
She's on 15 per day, like morning, evening. When you add them up, it's like 15.
Yeah, and I'm looking at different medications. Okay, so someone's taking metformin, and they're taking a statin drug
Mm.
for their cholesterol. Well, the statins
Mm.
decrease their energy because it's depleting CoQ10, and
Mm.
so well, okay, let's give you some sort of an energy booster, and that's going to cause stress on the heart. Okay, it's it is, and you're right. And a lot of these medications cause muscle aches.
Mm.
That's one of the side effects of medications. And so, okay, now my muscles ache. Okay, well, here, have this anti-inflammatory.
Mm.
So you're not wrong when you say that some of these things could be caused by the medications, but what does it beat the alternative? What's the alternative?
Mm. What's the
So
alternative? Because she has the condition that is causing the doctor to prescribe. When I look at what the doctors are doing, they're really just treating things that have been brought up by the medication. And
mhm.
so they're solving problems they created in the first place. And so I'm just wondering, like, what's the alternative if she's someone that eats clean?
Mhm. Then we have
Mm.
to look at her activity levels, her sleep.
Mm.
There are sleep studies that she could do. Is
Mm.
she exercising on a regular basis, doing what she can, 15, 20-minute walk a day? That can, even that is an incredible therapy. It
Mm.
helps with the musculoskeletal pains. It helps decrease inflammation, and it can help with depression as well. So walking, 15 or 20 minutes a day has incredible health benefits just beyond the pain aspect. It also helps you get
Mm.
better sleep. And of course, if we're not sleeping, you know, that's, we're going to have more pain too. We need to look at is she doing any sort of meditation? Is she doing any sort of stress reduction techniques, whether it's meditating, yoga, prayer, whatever it is? These things can also help decrease the stress, the cortisol, which is
Mm.
inflammatory as well. So there's other things that we can look at other than food. Uh, lots of different things. And you know, again, I like to look at lifestyle in general. And again, this isn't going to be a cure-all. Unfortunately, I don't believe in a magic bullet. I don't believe in a cure-all for everything. But what we can
Mm.
do is we can use lifestyle choices to mitigate what's going on in our bodies and, you know, kind of decrease those symptoms. If not eliminate them, we can at least reduce them. I hope that helps.
How would you think about it in terms of she could definitely probably do more activity. She does activity, but it's not easy for her because she has pain. She
Mhm.
does sleep. She does pray, if that's considered a mind thing, but she doesn't have like meditation, blah blah blah. Um, I have been thinking about like really healing, like inner healing and like ancestral stuff. But I'm just wondering in terms of plating, because she's also very limited because she has diabetes and high blood pressure. So don't eat this and don't eat this. And I'm realizing that there's conflicting advice about the plate. So how would you look at her plate? Because I feel like she's eating
So
less than she should because of all of the do's and don'ts.
yeah. So
Mm,
it's there's certain foods that have a higher glycemic index, which will raise your
mm,
blood sugar, and that's really really not good for a diabetic, right? So, for
mm,
example, apple juice has a very very high glycemic index. So if you have diabetes, you probably shouldn't be drinking apple juice.
mm.
But this tells you how smart nature is. You can eat an apple and you can be okay because the
Wow.
apple has fiber along with it,
Mm.
and fiber can help mitigate those blood sugar spikes.
Interesting.
So drinking apple juice, don't do it. Eat an apple, you're fine. Okay. The same thing with orange juice. If you're drinking orange juice, you're getting all of the sugar. You're not getting any of the
Mm.
fiber. But if you eat an orange, you're better off because you're not going to get those blood sugar spikes.
So eat the fruits.
Eat the fruit. Don't drink the
Mm.
juice.
Cool. I generally don't drink juice, but I'd never thought about it like that. Like I just enjoy the whole eating of the fruit anyway, and I don't like the whole processing of the juice. So yeah, interesting.
There's something about chewing and eating and enjoying your food.
Mm. Mm. I like to be involved in the
Yeah,
activities.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
What is it that would make this conversation incomplete if I didn't ask it or if we didn't talk about it?
You know, I think we've talked a lot. I'm really happy with our conversation. But I'll give you my contact information so that you can
Mm-hmm.
contact me for any questions. I'll let you, you know, visit my website. I'm working on a new website. It's called Natural Pain Relief Solution, naturalpainreliefsolution.com.
Mm.
And that website should be up here within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, and that might help give you a little bit of a little bit more to think about. And you'll also find my contact information. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email.
Okay,
Or
cool. But
yeah.
what is it that where should we begin? Like if I have autoimmune and inflammation and I have like 10 painkillers, I have headache, I have who knows what. Where should I begin? Like if I'm thinking, oh my God, this is too much. I don't sleep enough, I don't walk enough, I still love to drink and I don't know, whatever I think they're taking. Like you just don't understand that my lifestyle is a mess. Where
Mhm.
should I start? Like, what is step one for someone who has all of the problems because their lifestyle is a mess and their choices are a mess? This is good for me because naturally I don't have the wrong handle, the sweet tooth, or naturally I just love the vegetables and the fruits and I don't know, like naturally I just love legumes, things that are good for me. But I also
Yes.
know people who just have a hand for the thing that will kill them. So if I am addicted to poison, what should I do? Where should I start? What is step one?
So step one is drink more water.
Mm,
That's a really easy thing to do. Drink more water. Drink less of anything else.
Mm.
I know that, a lot of people in my area, they like to drink their soda pops, their
Mm.
Coca-Cola, their Sprite, stop that. It's easier said than done sometimes. If you can't stop it, cut it in half. So the
Mm.
sugary drinks, even the juices, even fruit juices, like we said, apple juice, orange juice, that we think are healthy for us, cut those in half or eliminate those. And like you said, any of the snacks, the sugars, anything that's white bread, white pastries, get rid of that out of your diet as well.
Mm.
Or if you can't get rid of it completely, cut it in half.
Just start by just take less. Walk from your house to the road. I don't know. Just start
Walk.
walking.
Yes.
Sleep
Yeah.
2 more hours. I like sleep. I don't know how, but I feel like sleep is medicine, and most people don't see it. One
Yeah.
of the things I can advise is check out the light in your bedroom and have no light. And when you go to sleep, leave your phone
Yes.
behind. Leave your phone in
Yep.
another room. Don't have a phone. I like to use blinders sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of my healing comes because I really sleep. I give myself 8 hours every day. It doesn't matter what's on my desk. Doesn't matter who needs what. I am sleeping 8 hours. Doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
emergency is in the world. I'm sleeping 8 hours, and it really, really helps.
That's
And I don't know
huge.
how to share that, but I think sleep, just movement. You don't have to go for a marathon right away, but can you get in the habit of going someplace 10 minutes, 20 minutes every day and just coming back?
Yeah. Start with 5 if you can't do 10. Start somewhere.
Start somewhere. And I like what you said about some mental activity. My mom doesn't know that she does mental activity, but she prays. But that's
Mm-hmm.
really like a peaceful ritual that connects her to her body. Most people don't
Yes.
have that ritual in their activities every day. Most people just wake up and Friday is in a storm and you're like, oh my God. And someone got hit on the road and someone got scammed and bam, 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 bam. So you go through the day and your world is a roller coaster. Most
Yeah.
people don't really take a minute to just enjoy the peace and quiet, do some journaling,
Yes.
just be
Yes.
with yourself. That can really be the cure for whatever the disease is that you have.
It can help, absolutely. And you also mentioned one other thing that I'm going to mention. Turn off the news.
Yes, I'm with you
Don't
there.
watch the news. You'll find out about the important things from somebody else.
Yes,
But the
the
news is
important
designed
things,
to.
they will come, they will find you. Like I believe that I can never miss out something that is important. Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. This is the point where I bring up the triangle and ask for your help. Bradley has a message that is in his heart, and he would love more people to heal with medicine. He would love more people to get balance and to heal. My job is over here. I really translate messages. I bring these messages to, like, we bring them to life and we share them with people. I want the world to discover Bradley. What you can help me is, can you see the gap down? From here to here is
Mm-hmm.
you. And this is like a vessel. So in my world, you're this type of stem. And what I'm hoping you'll do for me if you're watching is I'm hoping that you will scroll through your phone and pick one person who needs this work. For me, I know it's my mom. Like my mom needs this work. My family needs this work because it is the make or break of my mom's life. At the point where she is, she's like giving us the power because we're 8 children and she has doctors and PhD people, and everyone is just deciding what happens to her. But I feel like we need this information more than ever before because she's 65, and our best chance at getting her back on her feet is how much we know. And so, who do you know that needs this message? Who do you know? For me, it's my mom. I know we need this information. Who do you know? And I'd love for you to please share, and not share with the internet, but share with one person that if this was in their hands, they would change someone else's life. Who is a caretaker that you're in touch with? Who is it that has chronic illness after chronic illness that you wish for some peace in their life? It would be my honor if you shared this. That's how you can support the Calling on My Heart and the Calling on Bradley's life. That's how you can support this podcast. Of course, other than that, pull your phone, go to Apple, open the app, look for the words Best Kept Secret and see, could you review, could you rate, could you comment, like, I don't know, subscribe, follow, I don't know what you can do. Do those things because that's what gives this podcast the power to go out in the world into the people that need this help. Okay? Bradley, we're coming to the end. What would you like us to go with as like words, like last words of wisdom?
Well, I think we've talked so much about all of that. So, unfortunately, the fact is that a lot of people are going to hear this information, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to make those changes. They're not going to decide to start walking. They're not going to decide to start sleeping better. And so I want to reach out to all of those that are listening right now. Don't be that person, please. Start with something. Get color in your diet. Start walking. Get better sleep. Start working on your mental and emotional um, things with meditation and or prayer or even just sitting still and observing your breathing for 5 minutes. And like I said, most people aren't going to do this because it's free advice. But please do something and notice how your life changes.
It's not that there's anything as complicated as you think. There is simple principles, but simple does not mean easy. It doesn't mean that you're going to get to do it. It's the simple things that most people never do. Like just sleeping for 4 more hours, like just walking every day, like just picking up the right stuff when they go to the groceries, like just putting the right thing on the plate every day, like just stopping to go, how can I calm my mind? Most people never stop to do that, but it makes all the difference because it's not the one time, it is 365 days later. It is 5 years later because most people do the same thing every day. Most people wake up every day and they do the same thing every day, which creates the same result every day. And 5 years later, that becomes cancer. 10 years later, that becomes death. So what are you choosing to do today? And if you could magnify that across 10 years, would that be medicine or would that be poison? You can use food as medicine, but you can also use it as poison. We hope you choose wisely. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And Bradley, thank you so much for sparing the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you very, very soon.